Chairs No Waiting, episode number 592, the eBullet, July 2020. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Drop by over at Weavers. They got some brand new beach towels. You got a fishing hole, you got a Barney face, there's multiple choices, at least 3. Head over and check them out if you'd like a beach towel that shows the Mayberry spirit. While you're there and you're going to be cooking out or something at the beach, get a Aunt Bee's Mayberry cookbook, the hardcover edition. It's the 60th anniversary edition of it, so head over and check it out at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donationers from listeners just like you. The executive producers of tonight's show are those folks who attended the Mayberry Meetup 2020. So thank you for being there, and thank you for being here. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting, and I will attempt to speak as correctly as possible throughout the evening or throughout the time you're listening to this. But don't overexpect. Don't overexpect. So we're going to be talking about the eBullet, and then we're going to hear from Randy Turner. I got some voicemails. I'm going to run through it as kind of quickly because there's a lot of stuff in the eBullet. It came out early in July. So hopefully many of you have already absorbed the information from it. It was 2 weeks ago when it came out. So hopefully you've already been able to get the eBullet and just get all the goodness that Jim Clark puts into the eBullet every edition, every other month, and have already absorbed it. So we'll be hitting some of the high points on that and just going to have some fun. So let's get this show rolling. I'm going to put a little background music on by the VW Boys, just because it helps me sound better. And let's head over and check out the eBullet for July 2020. All right. So this is the 4th issue of the 60th anniversary year of the Andy Griffith Show. And this year will surely go down as one of the most unusual in history of the nation, not to mention Mayberry. Most of the Mayberry related gatherings and performances slated through the first half of the year have been postponed or canceled. But the first large event did finally take place last month in Granville, Tennessee. So we'll hear and talk a little bit more about that. There was another event that also happened after the eBullet came out. The Mayberry Meetup 2020 happened up in Mount Airy, North Carolina. So that went off, and that was reported on last week here on the podcast. We're all, of course, hoping that things will get back to normal for the celebrations throughout the rest of the year, especially Mayberry Days in September. You know, social distancing or not, all you red-headed folks should watch out for folks wanting to rub your heads for good luck in having some robust commemorations of the 60th anniversary. So the event calendar is also included in the eBullet, and it's full of updates of both things that have been canceled and things that were going on. And I definitely want to encourage you to go and look at that. You can go to imayberry.com and click on events, and you'll find it. Or you can head over to the eBullet and check it out there too. The one at imayberry.com, the event calendar, is updated as often as Jim updates it. Because Jim Clark takes care of all of that stuff. As we look forward to a time when fans will once again gather in large groups to celebrate Mayberry, we can be thankful that we have the internet and social media to help keep us in touch. As always, the Andy Griffith Show itself continues to give us some of the same shared connections that we've always had, it always has. We can still watch our favorite reruns and stay tuned to the joys of Mayberry right in our own homes. So thank goodness we've had Mayberry. Now, Floyd's Barbershop bulletin board and event calendar is a sad thing to look at. This is Alan's commentary. Only because things have just been so canceled. But a piece of good news. The Andy Griffith Museum, featuring the late Emmett Forrest Monumental collection of Andy Griffith artifacts, has reopened. Now, please note that the museum has more than just Barney's 2 rules at the Rock. Rules include that you only have 10 people in the museum at any time. Everyone must wear a mask and bring your own, or be prepared to buy one for $5.35. You wear gloves if you're planning on using the museum's touch screens and credit card or debt things, anything like that, you'd have to wear gloves. But if you don't have to wear those. For complete updates and operating hours and safety procedures and all that kind of stuff, you can head over to andygriffithmuseum.org and find out the information. So a lot of events have been postponed. I'm not even going to try to go through those. Luckily, the Mayberry Meetup did occur. Yay, we were able to get together. And so far, everyone has reported as being healthy and well. And we are more than 10 days out away from it. So, hey, that means I think we might have done a good job of everything we needed to do. So hopefully we will keep those good reports coming. Now, tentatively, there's still an event scheduled, but it could very well change, for Mayberry 101 author Neil Brower to do his Professor Brower's lecture at about the Andy Griffith Show, talking about the bookie Barber at 2 p.m. on August the 15th. So it's tentative. You need to call the museum to check and make sure if you're going to be in the area. But maybe Neil will be able to do it. Maybe they'll be able to have it. We'll see. So make sure you check on that, August 15th. Betty Lynn has already canceled her August appearance for doing autographs for the 21st of August. So don't expect that. Now, she does have one tentatively scheduled for September the 18th, where you can make it in and get an autograph from Betty at the Andy Griffith Museum. So fingers crossed that things will improve or continue to improve, and that might be possible. So we'll see. Also, the big event. Now, this is the one we're really worried about. It's Mayberry Days, the 31st annual Mayberry Days on September the 21st through the 27th. It is still scheduled as of the time I'm recording this, which is the 27th of July. Okay, so it's still scheduled. Things may change a little bit, but right now they're still looking at trying to have Mayberry Days. So make sure you follow all the rules and keep everything straight, and maybe we can pull off having at least some kind of a gathering this year other than the Mayberry Meetup for Mayberry Days. Now, I'm not even going to try to read off all the people who are scheduled to appear, because that may very well change, but definitely keep your fingers crossed that Mayberry Days, the 31st annual from September 21st through the 27th, will occur. And we'll be celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Andy Griffith Show. Okay, so if things go well, it will be Betty Lynn and Rodney Dillard and Ronnie Shell and Joy Ellison and Leroy McNeese. They're scheduled to be there. And there's a whole boatload of things that are scheduled to be done. Go and check out the eBullet for July and look at all the events that are scheduled there. You might want to head over to mayberrydays.org and see what's going on there as well. Also, Rodney Dillard is scheduled to perform September 30th through October the 3rd at the 10th annual John Hartford Memorial Festival in Bean Blossom, Indiana. Okay, the schedule is yet to be determined. You can visit HartfordFest, HartfordFest.com for more information. Now, something that will not be canceled for certain, October the 3rd of 2020 will be the 60th anniversary of the airing of the very first episode of the Andy Griffith Show. 60th anniversary begins right there. So that is a big day. So one way or the other, folks are going to celebrate. We're going to have a 60th anniversary party of some kind. So let's just go ahead and start making plans for that, whether it's at your own house and you've got you a cake or something, or we do some stuff online. Let's start thinking about that. All right. So rescheduled already is the Cruise to Mayberry 15, which was scheduled to be in November. It's already been pushed out and rescheduled for October the 31st to November the 6th, 2021. That'll be the Cruise to Mayberry 15. It's been postponed. But we're still going to have Clint Howard. He's already agreed to go with us. So he's just, everything's shifting a year. So we're going to miss out on the Mayberry Cruise in 2020, like the year that never happened. But we're still going to have some Mayberry fun that we can already start thinking about for 2021. Mayberry fun for 21. I like that. That might work out. All right, so let's hear a little bit of news from cast and crew. Ron Howard and his wife, Gerald, they celebrated their 45th wedding anniversary on June the 7th. Congratulations to Ron and his wife. Mr. Howard, in case he's listening, Mr. Howard. Ron and his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, were interviewed about Bryce's dad's documentary for an excellent segment on CBS Sunday Morning that aired June the 14th. I hope you got to see that. In the eBullet, there's a link that looks like it will take you to watch that interview. Rebuilding Paradise, Ron's National Geographic documentary about the aftermath of the 2018 fires around Paradise, California, comes to select theaters on July the 31st. So watch for that. You might be able to see it. Ron and Imagine Entertainment have launched Impact the Podcast based on their Impact speaker series. The podcast features discussions with leading figures in entertainment industry about the creative process. First installment is streaming now, is titled Truth in Storytelling. Maybe I should listen to that. Ron continues to shift and juggle projects that he is directing or producing or both in an effort to adapt to the constraints of COVID-19. One project that seems to be continuing in development at a pretty steady pace is the Willow TV series based on the 1988 film, which Ron directed for George Lucas. The series is being developed for the Disney Channel, for Disney Plus, the Disney Plus streaming service. Cool. Ron Howard, his brother, Clint Howard, announced on Facebook last week, which was early July, that he and his fiancee, Kat, were married on July the 1st. Yay! A hearty congratulations to the happy couple. And there's a picture in the eBullet if you're getting to check it out. Meanwhile, Clint is staying busy during the pandemic by making his whimsical snow globes and tending to his garden. He's especially pleased by the prospect of a bumper crop of tomatoes. Local rabbits and crows probably are pleased too. So that's great. So Clint, congratulations to Clint Howard and Kat Howard on their wedding. That is absolutely great news for the two. Betty Lynn, Thelma Lou, is obeying all the social distancing rules. Well, most of them anyway. Like everybody else. Well, most of us anyway. She and the Andy Griffith Museum have canceled her monthly appearances and, to greet fans and sign autographs for the whole summer. Her next possible meet and greet, as I said earlier, is scheduled for September the 18th. Maggie Peterson Mancuso, Charlene Darling herself, has continued to recover well overall from various medical issues, including a surgery. During the last 8 months or so, she's been doing well. She's getting better. Unfortunately, Maggie is needing to have some more surgery, this time on her right shoulder, to hopefully restore some of lost function of her arm. The surgery is scheduled for the July 14th. It was scheduled for July 14th, the day this issue came out. Continued prayers for Maggie are greatly appreciated. Maggie has once again expressed her gratitude to the meeting fans from Mayberry and elsewhere who have already helped tremendously. In a message she recorded last week, Maggie said, quote, "It's just been overwhelming to me, and I thank you very much," end quote. Especially given this much soldier surgery and rehab and other care that will follow, Maggie's medical expenses will still be growing. There's a GoFundMe page, which Maggie's family has set up with some help of Maggie's, will help with her uncovered medical expenses. It's still active, and any additional donations that we can wrangle for Mayberry's darling person will surely be a blessing to her. So head over to the eBullet, look around, you'll find Maggie's GoFundMe page there. And if you look in our show notes on Two Chairs No Waiting, you'll see it there as well. Rodney Dillard, the guitar playing darling boy, has had all of his in-person appearances canceled until September because of the pandemic. It's hard to say pandemic. That is all except one, which was Granville, Tennessee. But Rodney had to bow out of that because of an infection in both ears, and doctors ordered him not to travel. He has, though, still been allowed to do some local boat fishing. And Rodney did find a workaround to perform for fans by doing a live concert on Facebook hosted by a local acoustic shop on July the 10th. And you can still watch that concert. There's a link in the eBullet to watch it if you'd like to go see it until July the 24th. Well, you can't watch it anymore. That was 3 days ago. But it was really good. I watched it. And you could even tip him. Lots of TAGS RWC members and chapters joined other Mayberry and Dillard's fans worldwide in watching the performance with wife Beverly and some local pickers. It was 90 minutes of music and stories that were especially appreciated during these distancing times. So yeah, Rodney, it was a really nice show. If you didn't get to see it, I hate it. I posted it on our Facebook page and group page so that folks would not miss out. Rodney has 2 festivals, including Mayberry Days, booked for his full band in September. See the Mayberry event calendar above, as I've already read to you about details. And sometime very soon, Rodney expects to have new album news coming out. So we'll find out about some new albums. Leroy Mac McNeese, and one of the country boys, he filled in for Rodney Dillard up in Granville. And with Keith Thibodeau, Johnny Paul Jason, they headlined the grand opening and the accompanying going-ons for the Mayberry I Love Lucy Museum in Granville, Tennessee on June 13th. An estimated 3,000 people turned out for the day's festivities on a beautiful Saturday in the little town that for years has billed itself as Tennessee's Mayberry. Leroy, Mac, and Keith shared stories about the Andy Griffith Show, and in Keith's case, also I Love Lucy as Little Ricky. They played music, dobro-centric bluegrass and gospels for Leroy's and drums for Keith, and they greeted fans. For all attending, it just felt good to be out and about and enjoying the fresh air, snow cones, good music, and good Mayberry-style fellowship, all generally following the social distancing and other health safety protocols, of course. There's some photos that you'll see if you go and check out the eBullet of the event. And both Leroy and Keith are looking good. They look healthy. Everything looks great, and they're doing well. Depending on restrictions on travel and other gatherings related to COVID-19, some filming for the Mayberry Man movie might begin in Indiana later this summer. Well, as far as I know, it is going to begin, so we're still looking at that. They'll be in Danville, Indiana, at the home of the Mayberry Cafe. Other key locations for the filming expected to be in and around Mount Airy during Mayberry Days. Several actors from the Andy Griffith Show and their children are expected to appear in the movie, which is being spearheaded by Stark and Court Howell, sons of Hoke Howell, Mayberry's Dudwash, and Greg Shell, son of Ronnie Shell. Yeah, 2 Andy Griffith Show episodes, of course, and Duke Slater on Gomer Pyle USMC. Some additional casting has already been done. Actor Richard Gunn, the son of Laura Hagen. You ever heard Hagen, Earl Hagen? The widow of the Andy Griffith Show maestro Earl Hagen. Richard Gunn will play the lead character of an arrogant Hollywood actor. And comedian Rick Roberts will play the film's deputy tribute artist. So Rick's going to be playing that. The movie, which is being funded largely by donations from fans, some of whom will also be seen on screen, is still expected to be released as planned in 2021. Karen Knotts was proud to take part in a peaceful march for racial justice and equality in Los Angeles in June. Despite the heat, Karen respectfully and responsibly wore her protective mask and gloves too. All of which just goes to show that she's not only a very funny person, but a good citizen and kind behind the eyes. Of course, we already knew that. And that's all for the chapter news. Folks, there is so much more in here. There's chapter updates, chapter information. We're currently up to 1,467 chapters of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. So that is always big. There's information in there about weavers, like the new towel that I mentioned earlier, the new t-shirts that are in there, stuff from Miss Crump, all kinds of stuff. And of course, there is chapter news of all the goings on that the chapters are doing. I am not going to read all that tonight, but I definitely want to encourage you to head over and check that out. The eBullet, folks, if you're not getting it, it's just amazing. You need to get it. There's a great letter in there from Everett Greenbaum, and I might cover that in a different episode of this podcast because that alone is worth almost the price of admission. All right, so that is the eBullet. Thank you to Jim Clark for his amazing work in putting together the eBullet and just putting all this stuff together. Let's go and hear from Randy Turner for This Week in Mayberry History, and then we'll be back with more.
Welcome to This Week in Mayberry History, a report by special correspondent Randy Turner of the Gomer and Cooper Pyle Comic Book Literary Guild of the Mayberry Historical Society.
Mabel Albertson often played interfering mothers or mother-in-laws in her later years, and her role as Howard Sprague's mother in The Andy Griffith Show was most definitely one of them. Mabel was born just north of Boston on July the 24th, 1901. Nearly 6 years later, a baby brother was added to the family, Jack Albertson, who went on to become an actor and who also appeared in Mayberry as Aunt Bee's cousin. Mabel graduated from the New England School of Speech and Expression and moved immediately into performing on the stage, including stock theater, nightclubs, and vaudeville. In the latter, she often appeared alongside Jimmy Durante. Mabel married when she was young and had a child when she was 24. 2 years later, in 1928, she made her film debut in the uncredited part of a reporter in the prologue of the crime drama Gang War. The movie did not immediately lead to any additional film work. In the following decade, Mabel continued to perform on the stage, including with Durante, but also began doing some limited work in what we now call old-time radio. She began as a supporting player on the Phil Baker Show in the 1930s, sometimes referred to as the Armor Hour, due to the program being sponsored by Armor Meats. In 1936, Mabel joined NBC's Dress Rehearsal, where she also soon began contributing script ideas, gags, and even occasionally dialogue. In 1937, Mabel, who had divorced her first husband, remarried, this time to the radio writer Ken England, with her son George from the previous marriage adopting his surname. In 1939, she gave film another try and appeared in the 1939 adventure film Mutiny on the Black Hawk, which again did not result in any additional film work. In October 1939, a month after Mutiny came out, Mabel appeared one more time on radio, guest starring in an episode of the Campbell Playhouse, alongside Everett Sloane, who would later play Mayberry moonshiner Jubal, and also write lyrics for the Andy Griffith theme, a year after the show premiered, and which Andy would later record under the title The Fishin' Hole. Mabel stopped appearing in nationally aired entertainment during the 1940s. When she returned to the public in her third attempt at making it in the movies, she hit pay dirt. She was cast in an uncredited role as the interfering mother of one of the girls romantically pursued by Army cadets in the 1952 musical About Face. She had found her niche, playing haughty, judgmental mothers, mothers-in-law, stepmothers, and aunts. The same year the Technicolor musical was released, Mabel also made her television debut in an episode of Chevron Theater. Throughout the 1950s, in addition to continuing to work in radio, Mabel appeared in movies such as She's Back on Broadway, Ma and Pa Kettle at Waikiki, Forever Darling, The Long Hot Summer, and Don't Give Up the Ship. On television, she appeared in series as varied as The Adventures of Superman, The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show, The Red Skelton Hour, and Have Gun Will Travel. Mabel played 8 different characters between 1953 and 58 on The Loretta Young Show, and co-starred as the mother of one of the title characters in Those Whiting Girls from 1955 to 1957. Mabel also became an actual mother-in-law in 1953 when her son married the actress Cloris Leachman. In 1960 through 1961, Mabel co-starred in The Tom Ewell Show. The next year, Mabel made her Broadway debut in The Egg, which closed after only 8 performances. Throughout the 1960s, Mabel appeared in many of the top series, such as The Danny Thomas Show, Gunsmoke, My Three Sons, The Munsters, Hazel, and The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. In 1964, Mabel was cast in the role for which she is best known, playing Samantha's mother-in-law on Bewitched. She played Darren's mother 18 times between 1964 and 1971. She also appeared on Broadway a second time, starring in Xmas in July, which opened October 27, 1965, and closed after only 4 performances. Of course, in addition to continuing to appear as Darren's mother in Bewitched, Mabel played other interfering, manipulative mothers during the same time period, one of which was in Mayberry. Between 1966 and 1968, Mabel appeared 4 times as Howard Sprague's mother. She left the show at Jack Dotson's suggestion, since her presence kept the county clerk as pretty much a one-joke character. In 1969, Mabel appeared again in the Mayberry universe in an episode of Gomer Pyle USMC as a different character. Mabel also played Donald Hollinger's mother on the Marlo Thomas series, That Girl, between 1966 and 1970. But Mabel's health deteriorated as the 1970s progressed. She did appear in some notable work during the first half of the decade. She was in Barbra Streisand's What's Up, Doc in 1972, and appeared in series such as The New Dick Van Dyke Show, where she played Dick's mother, and The Mary Tyler Moore Show in 1975, the same year she retired from acting. While Mabel's son and Cloris Leachman divorced in 1979, Cloris remained close to Mabel and later revealed that she began suffering from Alzheimer's disease in 1975 and suffered ill health until she passed away in 1982 at the age of 81. Well, that's it for this week. As always, thanks for listening, and remember to take care of yourself, care for one another, and take Andy's advice and act like somebody.
Thank you, Randy. As is every week, he does a great job of putting these together. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of the great things that Randy is doing online with Mayberry, send him an email at turnersgrade@gmail.com, turnersgrade@gmail.com, and he'll make sure you don't miss out on any of the fun he's having online. Wow, he's doing some really cool stuff. So we had a few things. I got a couple of voicemails and a feedback from Kathy. So I think I'll just do it first, and then we'll hear the voicemail. These are feedback from last week's episode about the Mayberry Meetup. So this is from Kathy. She said she sent in an email because she'll start coughing when she's talking, so she didn't want to do that. But she did want to comment about the meetup. Even though we had to keep distance, it still all worked out well. And we were blessed with nice weather, even though before coming, the weather had called for higher chances for rain. It rained mostly all around us, which it really did. It was amazing. I thought the lookalike contest was exceptional this year with some unusual characters. So I believe, definitely characters that we had never thought of as being tribute artists. There were some really cool ones. She goes on to say the trivia was good, and I especially enjoyed Sunday morning and all the positive talk we did. We had a session there on Sunday morning where we, instead of doing an actual Mayberry Bible study, we just kind of talked about some of the things that were good and might be good about the fact that we've all been stuck at home with our families and being able to catch up with people. So there was a lot of good conversation. She goes on to say, all in all, I'm glad the meetup went on as planned. And I want to thank you and Jan for all you do, and Indiana Steve and Michelle and Kenneth and anyone else who helped in the planning. So this is from Kathy and Steve and David and Taz. I think Taz is the dog. So thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much to Kathy and Steve. Steve's our one of our another artist. He's not like Rascal. He makes things out of. I showed it last week on the pre-show. He made me a wooden Mayberry squad car. I can't get it. It's over there, but it's a wooden Mayberry squad car. It's really cool. He does things like that. So thank you, Steve and Kathy and David, all you guys, for making it there. So next up, we're going to hear a little report from Don Head about it. So let's go ahead and hear from Don.
Hi, Alan. This is Don Head calling from Powder Springs, Georgia. Just want to let you know what a wonderful time my wife Angela and I had at the meetup last week. This is our second one to attend, and it didn't disappoint at all. We, of course, had a great time visiting the sites in and around Mount Airy, but our favorite times were sitting around the gazebo and sharing stories with all the other TAGS fans that were there. Thanks for all that you and Jan do to keep this community going. We certainly appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Don. That's very nice of you. Hey, it was a great time, and people did have a good time sitting there together and just visiting with one another. And it was just, it was a lot of fun visiting during the meetup. So I'm glad you had as much fun as I did. And I'm really glad so far everyone is still reporting as being healthy. So we did a good job on our social distancing. Yay. All right. So we have one more voicemail I want to play for you. This is from Paul. Paul. So
hello, Alan and Jan and the whole Two Chairs No Waiting crew. This is Paul Williams of Paul and Amy, also from the State Penn or Penn State or whatever you wish to call it. It seems you're a little almost embarrassed to show all those photos of yourself and of the others at the Two Chairs No Waiting gathering in Mount Airy. But because Amy and I were unable to go, it was wonderful to see all the pictures and hear your stories of everything that happened. It was almost like we were there. So just know that we appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul. Yeah, it's always, I'm always not quite sure if people are going to accept it in the sense that I'm trying to show the fun we had, and I'm not trying to rub it in on anybody. So thank you for letting me know that those of you who were not able to attend, you do appreciate getting to hear what happened and seeing photos and stuff that were in the video version of the show and posted online. So the pictures from the Mayberry Meetup are posted online on Facebook. And in this week's show notes, I've changed the link to the pictures to a Google Photos area, because I heard some people that didn't have Facebook were having a hard time looking at the pictures. So if you go back and look at this week's episode, number 592, if you go and look at the show notes, there'll be a link in there to the Google photos. So you'll be able to see the pictures there, because everybody reported they could see those. So it's just always fun to just be a part of what's going on in and around Mayberry. And I'm just so thankful to be a part of it. Jan and I have been very blessed to be able to keep all this going. The podcast, the Doing Floyd, Weaver's Department Store, all the things we get to do. And I just can't thank Jim Clark enough, who did the newsletter that we just went through tonight, for starting the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club, because it's so easy to say. No, because wow, there are so many great shows that have followings, but the Andy Griffith Show has a following that's just amazing. And Jim Clark and the folks who started the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club should be thanked by all of us, because while I've been doing this podcast, which good grief, it's 12 years. It's amazing. Jim's been doing the eBullet since the 80s. So Jim, thank you. And thank you to all those that came before us. Thank you to Andy Griffith and Don Knotts and all those people that just still make us smile while we're stuck at home during this COVID stuff. We've been able to watch the Andy Griffith Show, whether it be on streaming services, which I know Netflix recently lost it, to watching it on DVDs. DVDs are probably your best bet, because once you have those, they're yours. But it's just is so great that we have these opportunities to do all this stuff. So thank you all for writing and calling in. There may be more coming in the future. Hopefully some more write-ins and call-ins. I would love to hear from you. if you give me a call at 888-684-8415, let me know what you think. Give me your stories. You've been stuck at home. What kind of Mayberry things have you been able to do in your own life to just keep you sane and to keep everything happy and going? Maybe that'd be fun to do. So we're going to be trying to talk with some folks coming up in the next few weeks and have them here on the podcast. And I'll be gone in September doing the Mayberry Man movie. So I don't know what our schedule will be like during September. So folks, stick with me, and we will be back one way or the other. And hopefully I'll still be able to meet the posting and getting the shows out. But we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you here on Two Chairs. Good night, everybody.